The sponsor of this video is Massdrop. Massdrop is a group buy site where they host group buys with super low bulk pricing of products chosen by the community. The more people that join each group buy, the cheaper and cheaper everybody gets that product for. They do things like keyboards, headphones, speakers, all types of stuff. There's a link in the description to go make an account and check it out yourself. This is the LG G Flex 2, and after using it as my daily driver for a couple of weeks, I can honestly say this phone turns more heads than any other phone I've used, and that's because it's curved, but really the curve is not the whole story with this phone. You can pick up the G Flex 2 for about $600 off contract, a bunch of places online like Amazon, and that's a fairly standard price for a phone like this. It might even be a little bit low considering the specs that come with it, including a Snapdragon 810 processor, which I'm a little disappointed with, but I'll get more into that later. Elegant, premium, and beautiful are all words I would not use to describe the G Flex 2. Cool, abstract, and cheap are all words I would use to describe the G Flex 2. I really don't personally like the look of the G Flex 2. It's shiny and just kind of in your face, but a lot of people do like it, so it's really personal opinion. And as I mentioned earlier, the curve is a head turner. People look at it and go, whoa, is your phone curved? And well, yeah, it's curved, but really you don't notice it after like a couple days use. It's a lot less noticeable than you would think. It doesn't really change the way you use your phone. The G Flex 2 is big, and I mean really big. It's housing a 5.5-inch screen with a bezel below and above the screen. So it really is a two-handed phone, and a lot of people like that. It is obviously aimed at the phablet market, but personally, I prefer a one-handable phone that I can text with one hand, so that bothered me a little bit with the G Flex 2, but if you're buying this type of phone, you know that going into it. The G Flex 2 really disappoints in the build quality department. The entire body is made out of cheap, shiny plastic, and not only does it look like cheap, shiny plastic, it feels like cheap, shiny, light plastic. Way lighter than you would expect a $600 device to feel. And after switching to the HTC One M9, after using the LG G Flex 2 as my daily driver, it's actually like a different world. The HTC One M9 feels more premium and heavy, but I'll talk about that in that review. The G Flex 2 is a little light for my tastes, and it looks and feels pretty cheap. When it comes to durability, I really only care about real-world durability, and when I use a phone as my daily driver, it suffers through real-world situations, so maybe some small drops or scuffs or impacts and stuff like that, and I can say that the LG G Flex 2 front handled all that pretty well. But the back, the supposed self-healing back, it's just not self-healing. There's a ton of scratches and scuffs on it, and I never really like scratched it. They're just minor scratches from coins or keys or something, and you would expect that if they advertise it as self-healing, minor scuffs and scratches from like everyday objects would be self-healed, but they're not, so I'm pretty disappointed with that. But durability also includes the flex part of the phone, which everybody loves. The phone can be bent completely straight, as you're seeing on screen now. And while it's kind of cool to show your friends that, it is gimmicky and it really doesn't have a real world use, but I guess it's good that it does that since it is a curved display, say you sat on it or something, but you shouldn't be putting it that way in your back pocket anyway. I don't know, it's cool to have, but it's not very necessary. The I/O on the G Flex 2 is actually pretty interesting. The front of the phone has nothing, the top has nothing, both sides have nothing, the bottom has a micro USB port and a headphone jack, and the back has the power button surrounded by the volume rocker. The layout is very unorthodox, but it's also pretty comfortable once you get used to it. When people ask about the curve and if it's weird to use a curved phone, my response is usually, honestly, you don't notice the curve, but having the power button and volume buttons on the back is way harder to get used to than the curve. And it's true, it took me a good couple weeks before I really got used to that placement. And once I got used to it, I wouldn't say the positioning of the volume rocker and power button is any better than a more conventional positioning, but the layout is good. Having the power button in between the volume up and volume down button is awesome. I have not hit one of those buttons. I have never hit volume down instead of volume up, and I've never hit a volume button when I'm trying to hit the power button. And I think that's really good, but the positioning, it could have been on the side. It doesn't really matter to me. Onto the display. One of the big upgrades from the G Flex to the G Flex 2 is the move to a 1080p 5.5-inch screen. And it's pretty mediocre in my opinion, just kind of standard. It doesn't look all that sharp with a 1080p screen on a 5.5-inch form factor, but there are a couple of modes to increase or decrease the contrast, whatever your personal preference is. I just kept it on standard, which is kind of boring, but if you're one of those guys that really likes the high contrast, like AMOLED screen phone, you can put it on a higher contrast setting, which is nice to have. The G Flex 2 is sporting a 13 megapixel shooter with laser autofocus, and while I'm not the type of person that'll go around taking pictures of flowers and trees, I am a heavy user of Snapchat, and I'll take pictures at like social events or something like that, and you can see that in good lighting, the camera does very well. It's sharp and what you would expect a 13 megapixel phone camera to look like, and in bad lighting, it still does pretty well. It handles poor lighting very well. The picture you're seeing now had 0 lights on in the room, just some light from the windows, so overall the camera is pretty good, but I don't have that much to say about it. Never before has sound quality made me hate a phone until now. And I'm not talking about speaker quality, I'm talking about the internals and all the technology inside of the phone, like the amp. They are terrible. When I'm listening to headphones, any headphones, or say listening to music in my car using an aux cord, it simply can't get loud enough. I will put the volume all the way up on the G Flex 2, and it's below the level of volume that I'd like to be listening to. That's unacceptable. I don't care. The phone should be able to get louder than I want to listen to. It should not be below the threshold that I want to be listening to. I can't even use a phone like that. If I didn't already hate the phone for its sound, I would hate it for its operating system. Yes, it is running Android 5.0 Lollipop, which is awesome, but the skin that LG uses is awful. It doesn't really look that bad, and it doesn't take away that much functionality, but it just makes the whole phone run really slow and laggy, and it's just not enjoyable to use. I mentioned this in my Moto G review, but the $180 Moto G runs faster than the G Flex 2. This is a $600 flagship phone, yet a $180 phone runs faster than it. It has a Snapdragon 810 inside, yet because of LG skin, it is still very slow and laggy, and things just won't load right away, and it's just a bad experience to use, which you just can't have that on a $600 flagship phone. And battery life is the third really big miss of LG. Yes, it has a 3000 milliamp hour battery on the inside, but it doesn't even last me a full day. Like, at least twice a week, I would have to charge it before the end of the day because the battery was about to run out. Are you kidding me? This is 2015. All phones should last at least a day. We should be getting into the era where they last 2 or 3 days, but the G Flex 2 actually couldn't last me a full day consistently. This is an interesting conclusion because this is my first phone review where I don't like the phone. I would not recommend the LG G Flex 2. And my 3 main reasons for that are the operating system, which is slow despite having flagship specs, the speakers, which couldn't get loud enough for me to enjoy listening to, and the battery, which wouldn't last me a full day consistently. Those are 3 strikes, and I mean, the phone's out. I'm happy to move on to the HTC One M9. I'm already loving it 1,000 times better, but I hope you guys enjoyed this review or at least learned from it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more content, and as always, stay classy.